Whoa, ass ahoy!
Well, it's taken almost 30 years, but the lost Family Guy pilot pitch from 1998 has been found in its entirety, which is now available to watch for free on YouTube. And I've always been fascinated by the lost media phenomenon, how something considered to be lost to time can just magically appear on the internet, sometimes after years, if not decades of searching. Little did we realise the entire pilot has actually been available online since September 2022, and this was part of a portfolio page for a crew member that apparently worked on the pilot named Robert Paulson.
His name is Robert Paulson.
Who still had a copy of it. He then added this to his personal website, which was discovered this year in 2025 by an online user named Ghost the Dead Girl, who found the video and spread the word about its availability. Watching the pilot in full for the first time was kinda surreal. There are several differences between this and the show that we know and love today that I feel are worth mentioning, and if you didn't already realise, the pilot would eventually become the show's premiere episode, Death Has a Shadow, which aired in January 1999. Now, we already know that the average Family Guy episode is roughly 21 minutes long, but the pilot is only 16 minutes long, and some scenes were shortened, others appeared only in the final version of the episode, and some gags, including the Kool-Aid guy, only appeared in the final version. I can't even imagine the courtroom scene without the abrupt, "oh yeah."
You're the Kool-Aid guy.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Just waiting.
Plus, I find it odd how the entire plot presented in the pilot hinges on Chris Griffin.
Hey, Dad, you ever think of welfare? That's like free money, you know.
Chris, that's it. I'll go on welfare.
I did see a load of comments looking back at the pilot stating that it was never actually lost, that it was available on the Family Guy DVDs, and so to debunk this, I went over to the collection, the archive if you will, to find out what disc the pilot episode was on. And compared to the Region 1 American DVDs, the UK releases are super confusing. The lack of bonus features for the first 3 seasons only adds to the confusion, but luckily this DVD set exists, Family Guy Uncovered.
What the deuce?
A little while ago I was clearing out some titles in the collection that I no longer needed, and I was in two minds about getting rid of this set. Luckily I didn't, because it contains most of the relevant bonus features that really should have been included as part of the first few seasons here in the UK. Originally this was just an extra inclusion for buying the 1 through to 3 season box set before the show's cancellation in 2002. But more to the point, yes, this does contain the original pilot, but not the full thing. For some unknown reason, only the first 7 minutes are available on the home media releases. I believe this could also be found on the Volume 2 DVD in the US, where it then suddenly cuts to a coming soon bumper, rather than playing through the whole thing. Other than some low-resolution images and footage from an interview with show creator Seth MacFarlane himself, there were no traces of the pilot's second half. You can even see some images from the pilot were actually used on the DVD sets for the episode icons. And looking at the pilot, this is where we are introduced to the Griffin family for the first time. Loudmouth but lovable father Peter Griffin loses his job thanks to a night of irresponsible drinking. He then gets swept up in a welfare scam thanks to an error caused by the government. He's given $150,000 a week but decides not to tell anybody, including his loving wife Lois, who eventually does catch on and encourages Peter to do the right thing.
Okay, everybody, here's your money back.
Yes, he does give the money back to the taxpayers alright, but in the stupidest way possible, and gets caught where he's then on trial for his own idiocy. These story beats are shared between the pilot and the official episode, which do remain identical for the most part, but the plot is streamlined in certain areas, such as removing the scenes where Peter is lying to Lois, trying to hide where all the welfare money is coming from, and these changes make the humour feel more organic in the pilot, whilst also making Peter seem more likeable. Plus, not all of the cutaway gags are present, which helps the episode flow more coherently without pausing the story for a gag-based laugh. Of course, there's the obvious visual changes with the main family, the inverted colours and completely different colours for some of their outfits, for Meg, Lois and Stewie in particular. Chris doesn't even have shoes in the pilot, which is never explained. Peter and Brian are more or less the same, and I believe their dynamic was based on a cartoon MacFarlane made in the mid-90s called Larry and Steve.
Listen to me. If you don't get me out of here, I will be put to sleep. You will be indirectly responsible for the resulting euthanasia.
Oh boy, they got enough kids over there as it is.
Some of the dialogue does differ, such as Meg acknowledging Stewie's birth, where a similar line is given to Lois in the final episode, which does make more sense. Speaking of Stewie, he's still hell-bent on world domination, building the mind control gun that becomes relevant by the end. Peter and Lois argue over whether he should go to a stag party where he promises not to drink any alcohol, which was a lie, and this is where we're introduced to the generic-looking Quagmire, who has the same voice but is not stylized to look anything like the Glenn Quagmire we're familiar with. Did any of these other side characters reappear after this episode or back to the pilot? Cleveland makes a brief cameo, and Joe's introduced in a later episode. If these guys are supposed to be Peter's friends, where did they all go?
TV's not even plugged in.
Peter turns up the following morning passed out on the kitchen table where Lois expresses her disappointment. And this sequence is much longer in the final episode with some additional dialogue and a cutaway moment set inside Peter's head to express his hangover. With the mind control gun taken off him, Stewie tries and fails to exact his revenge on Lois, something that happens a couple of times, cementing his hatred for his mother for foiling his evil plans.
No toys at the table.
Damn you, vile woman!
At the Happy-Go-Lucky Toy Company, Mr. Weed is another character that differs slightly, changing his voice.
It's your job to watch for any toy products that might be harmful to children.
It's your job to watch for any toys that could be hazardous to children. Now look sharp!
Yes, sir.
Peter falls asleep on the job, resulting in a lineup of dangerous toys hitting store shelves that could cause harm to children. And news anchor Tom Tucker is now named Mike Tucker in the pilot, delivering the news story leading to Peter losing his job. He then tells Lois what happened pretty quickly, but to pad out the runtime in the official episode, he tries to hide his wrongdoing from her to avoid being given the "I told you so" speech. Originally, it's Chris who gives his father the idea to go on welfare instead of Brian mentioning it, and Peter's irresponsible spending is also omitted from the pilot. He buys a big screen TV, which is enough to raise suspicion, and so he confesses to Lois pretty quickly. And on trial for welfare fraud, Stewie luckily does save the day, having gotten back his mind control gun, and he convinces the judge to dismiss the case and somehow get Peter's job back at the toy company. Like I said, this scene is very strange without the Kool-Aid guy.
Oh no.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh no.
So there's no organs or glands or anything, right? It's just a liquid?
Yeah, it's just a liquid.
I believe the discovery of the pilot is the first time the full credits have been made available. Seth was given a budget of $50,000 by Fox to create the pilot, which took him roughly 6 months to make, and he took on the majority of the work himself, literally drawing the episode from his kitchen, with a small team of artists and animation compositors given credit for assisting with the project, Robert Paulson being amongst these names. And overall, it's great to see a piece of lost media finally resurface after all these years, especially with it looking extremely unlikely for an official release of the full pilot. With DVDs unfortunately going the way of the dodo, I don't think there would have been another opportunity to share the pilot officially, and so it's great to have it as a DVD extra, but not having the full thing is disappointing. I do appreciate how media preservation has become more prominent amongst the fan communities nowadays, and I am sure this pilot will remain readily available for fans of the show to appreciate for many years to come. Let me know in the comments if you've checked out the full Family Guy pilot. How do you feel about it when compared to the official cut of Death Has a Shadow? Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and for more content, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, DVD Review Studios.
Are you threatening me?